Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to Views of Grace. We are so excited to bring you this particular edition today. We talked earlier last week about the chancel organ. We went through the chancel organ, which many of you wrote me that you enjoyed it so much, and we're so amazed at what all you saw there. And if you were amazed then, you'll be even more amazed today. On Thursday, we did a little demonstration of the console that controls both the front and the back organ. And today, we're going to do some mountain climbing. We're going to actually take you through the back organ, which I hope will be exciting for you. It's certainly exciting for us. So what you see behind me is the 1886 chancel organ, or gallery organ. This was not the original organ. The church was built in 1846. There was a small organ put in by the Urban Company of New York City. And that organ was there until 1886, when the large organ you see in front of you by Hutchings, the Hutchings firm of Boston, installed this organ. The gallery was not large enough to accommodate this organ, and so Richard Upjohn, the son of the original architect, came and designed and pulled the gallery out one pew's length to make space for this magnificent case made of black walnut with marvelous stenciled pipes. And we'll get a little bit closer to those, but I'll just point out now, because it's easier from here, that the main section of pipes in the center, large section of pipe, 16-foot pipe in the middle, and the two curved sections, the lower two curved sections, and the flat sections on the outer sides, all of those are playable pipes. They all are actual active pipes. Anything else you see are dummy pipes, as we call them, like we did in the front, to just complete the look of the facade. The stenciling is original from 1886 and is in very good condition. It's pale and it's not particularly well lit. We've turned on every light we can find, but it is beautiful and some wonderful gold leafing, which you can see when we get closer. Just want to point out one more thing before we go up. In the center, and it's hard to see, right at the top of the case in the center is a cross, a wooden cross. And if you come down from the cross to the right of both of the curved towers, you see a triangular shaped pediment with a little almost fleur-de-lis on top there, and you see one on that side. There are actually supposed to be two more on the inside of the curve and the inside of the curve. And as David and I were prepping for this yesterday, we actually found them in the case. We're not sure why they're not mounted, but we'll show them to you as we go up. And of course, any restoration project we would do to the organ would include putting those back in their rightful place. But it's just, by any count, a magnificent 19th century organ case. So that being said, why don't we start to go up? We did add lighting inside the case. There is some lighting in the case, but like the front, as I mentioned, the lighting is not adequate and would certainly need to be redone at some point. But we took lots of clip lights very safely, clipped them in places so that you will be able to see more today as we climb through. So we go through this little sort of end narthex here, which is now used as storage, and go up the beautiful, beautiful 1846 gallery stair, all black walnut, curved very beautifully here. The lighting is not great here, but you can probably see these are the two pediments that we found. And again, not sure why they were removed. I've wiped them off just a bit, but they'll clean up beautifully, of course, and someday we can put them back in. You can even see here where the pipe facade was made to go. Some woodworker took a chisel knife and just hand chiseled out the shape of the pipe. So just amazing. They make nice bookends for my office, maybe. So as we pass into the gallery, yes, David's reminding me of one more thing. So the boxes you see here that these are resting on, these actually contain organ pipes. In a very, very early part of my dream for the organ restoration, the organ doesn't, with as many pipes as are here, it doesn't actually have a clarinet stop. It did in its original iteration, but in 1959 that was removed. And we bought, some years ago, we had the chance to buy a vintage Ernest Skinner clarinet, sort of the Cadillac of builders in the early 20th century. This dates from 1926, I believe. It came from a church in Alabama, where the organ was being sold for parts. So we bought a complete clarinet rank, and we have it here waiting safely for someday when this restoration is done, and we'll include this in our restoration and rebuild project. So it's waiting there safely for us, now guarded by the pediments from the top of the case. As we come into this section of the gallery, we're on the side of the organ, and you can actually get a pretty good sense of just how massive this case is. It's a full 3 stories, the organ back here. And what you're seeing at the top are the sides of the enclosed divisions, the swell on top, the choir below, and then the metal pipes here are just the tops of the 16-foot pedal reed, the pedal bombard or trombone. It's been called so many things now over the years. And then on down to this beautiful black walnut case done with beautiful reeding, narrow reeding and then wider reeding. And then 2 very large speakers from the digital editions in 2010. These are some of the speakers that make the low rumbly sounds. As we come into the gallery, we have a nice picture of Papa Bach here, Johann Sebastian Bach. This was in the choir room, the old choir room here at Grace, when we were cleaning up and moving, and I brought it up here and hung it near the organ. He looks a little bit unhappy. That's because the organ needs some work, and when he'll smile again when it gets all sorted out. So David, let's just come to the front here and show people a quick view of the chancel and the nave of the church from here. It's a wonderful view, but not nearly as wonderful as the one you're going to get. Gives you a real sense of the scale of the building, and also a chance to see the 1846 work really juxtaposed with the 1912 work. I mean, it's harmonious and jarring all at the same time, much like the cathedrals in England and all of Europe, where they were built over periods of time, and there are different sections representing different periods of architecture, so it quite makes it feel, to me, even more authentic. And then just to whatever degree we can get some shots of this, again, you're seeing this gorgeous walnut woodwork from 1886. Some of the stenciling on the pipes, clusters of grapes, grape leaves, flowers, fleur-de-lis, some gold leafing. These, again, some of these pipes, as we said, do play. The largest playing facade pipes are these in the center, and the middle pipe is a 16-foot principal pipe that is actually 16 feet tall. And also of note, the original console in 1886, the organ would have been mechanical or tracker action, meaning the organ needed to be connected. The console needed to be connected to the pipes because it was connected by a series of wood strips called trackers. So you had to have it connected. So this big opening here would have been the console. And in 1902, when they wanted to move the choir down front, they moved the console of the organ down front as well, as soon as electricity allowed them to do that, and the organ became playable by electric impulse instead of the tracker action. Still a pipe organ, not an electronic organ, but electric action so that you could play from a distance. And then they just curtained this, and then of course 1904 the men and boys choir was formed, and then in 1912 they built the new chancel and had a new organ and console there with this, and so forth and on. But this was where the original console sat. This was a 1950s addition to allow a portion of the organ to play back here from this little console, a little keyboard really, and you could have some singers and stand back here and play with the back organ. A very good idea, actually. It was disconnected a number of years ago and it's not functional now. But again, in a project that we might, yes, we'll move some of this, in a project that we might, when we can do our project, we might include a small keyboard to play a small portion of the organ back here so someone could play and someone could sing as well. These were some stops from the choir division of the organ, I believe. So with that, we're going to go inside and we will begin to talk about the insides of the organ, and we will be going all the way up there and even higher. So when you come inside the organ here, you're in the base of the organ chamber. And while it is an organ chamber, the organ actually is really very much in the room. It's in the space, so to speak. It's not like the front organ, which was recessed into the wall in the chamber. This is really still part of the main axis of the nave, which is ideal for the way an organ should speak, really. Nothing is in its way. It sort of recedes over the narthex and behind it are the 3 windows that face Westminster Street. We'll show you a close-up of those, even though they're boarded up. But we're still facing straight out into the nave. So this area here, there's a lot of space. Massive speakers for the digital work. You can see 2 huge speakers here that, you know, should the digital work go away, all of basically anything you see that's black and square would go away. And so you'd see we actually would have more space to do a better layout with some of the pipe work. There's a lot of electrical wiring. You'll see old wiring, new wiring, some debris. We've tidied up a little bit. And then you begin to see pipes. On this side, there's the bottom part of the trumpet of the pedal. I showed you the tall part on the outside. And then over here you can see spread amongst us here on the right, these are some of the pedal stops. Some wooden pedal stops, some metal pipes. And while David's showing you those, I'm going to begin to climb into the choir division and he'll follow me. I'll meet you there. So I hope none of you get dizzy while you're climbing with David there. I climbed in advance, so you didn't have to see me do it. What you can already tell about the organ back here is that we have height, which we did not have in the front organ. For large instruments, you need height, and we have lots of it back here. So we're now in the choir division. Just a quick refresher, we talked about divisions or sections of the organ in the front. And we talked about, we started actually in the choir division of the front organ as well. It was that little room, and that's what we're doing here, except it's a much bigger space with much, much greater height. At least twice, probably even more. And to David's left, you can even see we talked about 16-foot pipes. You see those pipes are mitered. They go up and then back down, but that's a full, the low C pipe over at the end is a full 16 feet. That's the Gibbs horn. That's 16 feet long if it were unfurled. And then right behind David are the chimes, the original chimes. They don't play currently. We have digital chimes that play, which are very nice. We, of course, would love to restore these and have these play. These actually function like orchestral chimes. When you press a key, a little hammer strikes the chime, so it's actually real chimes. And then some of the taller pipes in the organ then are in front of David and to my right, the bottom of the choir diapason. And then I'm up here in the rafters with the rest of the choir division. It's a large division. It's 17 ranks. Getting a good look at the feet and the toes of the pipes on that side of the choir. Again, metal pipes, wood pipes, stopped pipes, open pipes. While David's climbing, I'll just say that, again, this is an enclosed division, meaning that it has swell shades. We call them swell shades. You could say choir shades, I suppose. Expression shades that allow the organist to control the volume of the organ. I'm just going to sit nicely on this little bench here. And David can show us that the shades are in two different places. There's a great range of expression, or there could be. So we have swell shades over to the right there. That's a section of them that affect this portion of the organ. And then a large section of shades to the left. You'll see that they look like they're nearly closed. Well, that's a problem, because down at the organ, one of those gas pedals that I use to control these, it's all the way open, and they should be too, but they don't function well anymore, so they won't open all the way. They should open another 45 degrees at least. So that means a lot of this sound right now is trapped in here. But again, you see about 17 ranks of pipes, all kinds of interesting things. Very tapered, narrow pipes, capped pipes. This is called a koppel flute or a hat flute, cap flute. Looks like it has a little cap on top. I should also say, many people ask me, almost all of the pipes in a rebuild project, if in a restoration and rebuild, almost all of the pipes would be reused. There definitely would be some new pipe work, and there would be a few things that are subpar that might go away, but mostly the entire organ would be reused pipe-wise. And a lot of these pipes date from, many of these pipes date from 1886, including, I believe, the wooden concert flute, which is a really beautiful stuff in the organ. Laid out pretty well in here for tuning and access. And maybe, David, while we're here, just a couple of things. We can show, first of all, that this pipe has been pulled. It's sitting on the walkboard. As you can probably, even if you're not an organ builder, you know that that's not where a pipe goes in here, right? It goes right there. But this pipe is ciphering, and that means if we turn on that stop, this pipe plays all the time. You hear this all the time. That gets annoying really fast. So the inexpensive way to fix that is to come and pull the pipe out. And then what we're seeing here is the base of the three front windows of the church out onto Westminster Street. You can see they're recessed areas with wood blocks, and this is a big piece of masonry here with peeling paint, but big piece of masonry here between those two panels of that exterior window. One really cool thing that could be done when an organ project was done would be to add LED lighting behind those windows on a timer, so at night the front windows could be lit. And maybe, David, does it make sense to show this, because we can't open it from the other side, and maybe we'll take it and leave it, take it off and leave it. So this panel is going to come off, and hopefully I'm not going to drop it. That's going to be the hope. No promises. And this panel leads into the great division of the organ, and you'll see this from above, but when you see it, I'll reference this little opening. This is how you would get to that part of the organ, because where we're going to be, you can't get there from there. You have to come through here, but it needs to be tightly sealed from this part of the organ, which is enclosed. This part of the organ is open out to the church. No expression shades. So we'll just leave that door open so you can see when we get there. You see little sneaks of the church through here. You're looking also through those shades. You're looking at the back of some of those big facade pipes. All looks very different from in here. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to have to climb back down. You have to climb down and out of here to then go to another section of the organ. So that's what we're going to do next. We'll go back out of the choir and down, and then we're going to go across and up again to another section of the organ. So let's we'll do that next. Maybe we'll let you do this first climb, and then I'll pass you on the next level. How about that? If anybody gets seasick or dizzy when the ladder climbing is happening, you can just close your eyes, but it's actually probably gives you a good sense of what it's like to come through here. Most of the lamps that you see with wires stringing from the ceiling, those are ones we've added so that you can see better. I'm going to leave you guys and head on down, and David will follow, and we'll go to the next phase. So I'm up on another walkboard now in another section of the organ, almost as high as where we just were, but just over to the other side. David is under a huge wind reservoir. This is one of the big reservoirs that holds and houses the wind until it's needed somewhere. These are massive because the organ's big. And these are all wind lines that you see. There's one right in front of David taking wind to different parts of the organ in and around. And I'm surrounded by pedal pipes. These are unenclosed, meaning there's no expression shade on them. These are what you see is what you get. So they're sort of spread throughout this part of the organ. So I'm going to climb on up a little bit further, and then we'll catch up and talk again. David, maybe just show the ladder that we're using here. This is the most precarious part of the climb. You go here, then to a walkboard, and over to a walkboard, and back up. So with any luck, I'll see you all in one piece in a minute. David and I both know to take our time, so be patient with us, everybody. This tour will be a lot better if we're both alive. So David, there you probably have a pretty good shot of looking through the facade pipes, right? And we're pretty much right behind the central facade, the lower portion of the central facade of the organ. And looking out into the nave. And the next little climb will take us, and actually before, when David comes up to the next walkboard, he can show you sort of back down into the organ. But the next climb, where I am, takes us into one of those curved tower portions of the facade. That's where the climbing space is. And let's see, David, can I refresh my memory? Are you looking at the great division down there now? Or is that from the next one up? Okay. Why don't I let you get there? We'll talk a little about that. See if I can yield you for a minute. And not too completely over it. So it's this next bit where if you don't like to climb and you don't like height, this is where it gets a little dicey. Just watching and noticing that David does it slightly more easily than I did. So now he's on a walkboard again, just shortly below where I am. David, maybe you can show them how I'm perched here on this little 1x2 or something. Yes. And here in the facade, holding on for dear life. But he can show you a good shot of the great division of the organ. and also that little doorway that we opened from the choir division, so you can get an idea of where we are now. But if we crawled through that door from the choir into the grate, that would have been lovely, but then we couldn't have gotten here. We'd had to go all the way back down again. Lots of pipes. The grate is a large division, 20 ranks of pipes. And then, David, we can look over, what he's going to show you now are the tops of some of the big pedal pipes. The 16-foot violone first, then the big open wood, and you can see it's made of wood. It's square and open on the top. And then can you see Borden pipes from there as well, David? I can't remember. Yeah, and beyond that, some of the 32-foot Borden, which isn't 32 feet because it's one of those stopped pipes, but it's huge. And maybe aim in on that back open wood, David, against the wall that has the lid slid off the top. That pipe there that looks like a piece of wood is slid off the top. You could put a couple of small kids in that and drop them down and then stack about 10 more on top of them. So these pipes are massive. And again, remember in a restoration, all of these would have to go out. Every piece of this would have to be removed. I'm going to keep climbing. Interestingly enough, when you get up this high, actually the worst climbing is over. What David's doing now and what I just did is about the worst. But you have a pretty good shot out of that facade, looking out at the curved tower of the organ facade, looking out into the church. So I'm up all the way, not nearly all the way actually. We're pretty high, but we're not nearly there. Maybe even, David, just show a shot up to the ceiling. Show how far we still are from the peak of the roof. I mean, we're a good, 30 feet, maybe 25 feet, still from the peak of the roof of the ceiling. And we are up in the rest of the Great Division. I told you the Great Division was large, 20 ranks, and David showed you a division below, near that little doorway, and then the rest of the Great Division is here. So we'll get him on up here and I'll show you a good comparison of pipe size. We're very grateful for walk boards. Once you get on a walk board, you think life is going to be okay, at least for a little while. So what I'm doing here is I've taken one of the smallest pipes on the organ. This is a mixture, part of a mixture pipe. I've told you, one of those compound stops that has multiple pipes in it. It has a tiny little mouth you can barely see. And I'm going to hold it up to what is not even remotely the biggest pipe in the organ. You saw some of those actually below and down, but a pretty big pipe. So remember, this is a pipe from here to here. It looks like wood paneling, but this is a pipe that much square. So it goes that way, this much, and it's a square. So if I show you this, compared to say one of these, or maybe on this side of the speaker, it's easier. You see the vast range. And again, this is not even close to the biggest wood pipe we have in the organ. I mean, it's easily twice, if not 3 times that size. So the range from low sound to high. It's one reason organs are so difficult to record, because of the vast range of sonic power they put out, from super high and dog whistly to low and rumbly. I better put this away before I lose it. So speakers, again, you see speakers sort of mounted here and there, and actually more important than speakers, are the tops of the windows. These are the three big windows that face Westminster Street, which of course we don't see from the inside of the church, but again could be backlit nicely, I think. So we're almost there. We've seen the choir division, we've seen a lot of the pedal division, which again is sort of spread out. It doesn't always have its own place. We've seen the great division, this plus what's below it. Now we're going to see the other enclosed division, the swell division. So we're going through here. This door would normally be closed so that this is tightly closed except for those expression shades. So we'll see the swell, and then we have one more treat for you after that. You might notice this, there are superior, high quality lighting here. Probably some organ maintenance person hit their head on that bulb. That's probably what happened. So now we're coming into the swell division. Nicely enclosed. You can see all the nice wood enclosure. Again, still the windows sort of form part of that. This division, like the great, has 20 ranks, which is that's a large division. Many of the first organs I played in my life weren't even 20 ranks, the whole organ, and this is one division of the organ. Again, here in the back, we have about 4,000 pipes, just over 4,000 pipes in the whole back organ. One stop in particular I just wanted to highlight is this one. This is the vox humana, or human voice. Now, if the human voices we had in our choirs sounded like this stop, we'd throw them all out. But it's sort of a speaking stop in that manner. Very distinctive sound, used in the music of César Franck from the 19th century. We talked about the boot of a reed pipe. You see here the boot is huge and the pipe is short. Makes a very interesting sound. And these pipes are some of the pipes from 1886 from the Hutchings organ. These date way back. The oboe here in the swell, the oboe pipe, the vox humana, I believe a couple of the flutes as well, go all the way to 1886. Pipes never, ever, ever wear out if you take care of them. They'll last longer than any of us will if they're maintained. One other quick thing I'll show you. Here's one of the lights David and I added yesterday. I'm going to turn it off, and you see this is what a maintenance person would be greeted with if they were trying to tune. And there's a whole massive forest of pipes over here. David said they look like French fries in a French fry holder. How difficult to see. Well, it's almost impossible. They have to bring flashlights. So we wanted you to be able to see some things. So I'm going to climb into this little section. Hopefully up onto this walkboard. Not down into the swell pipes. Those are the swell shades. Again, they don't work terribly well. They, in theory, could, and there's a big expanse. There's that expanse right in front of David, and then there's an shorter expanse over near me. So in theory, you ought to be able to really have great soft to loud expression, but they don't work properly. So. And then this sort of forest of French fries over here mostly are the reed pipes of the organ. The posauna, which is a low 16-foot stop, again mitered, and then the trumpet, which is bright 8-foot trumpet, and a 4-foot clarion. These all have boots and reeds, and these have lots of problems. We don't use these at all. You can see a couple of them have already given way over there at the top. They're bending. Now, speaking of bending, the wooden 16-foot stopped pipe, remember our lessons, a pipe doesn't have to, if it's stopped, you can get a 16-foot pitch without having it be 16 feet tall. So that bend is on purpose. That's a miter, and the one next to it is, you can't see it from here as well, but it's mitered as well. That's just to make it fit under the ceiling here. Which is interesting because there's much ceiling height above this. This chamber could have been higher, though at some point you don't want lots of just open space around the pipes. You want it to be enclosed and focused out. So maybe that's what they were thinking. But again, 20 ranks of pipes in here, well over 1,200 pipes in this particular room alone. And David, maybe just if you can, hold your camera onto this section of pipes and then turn that light off again. I think it's sort of So that's what it looks like if you just turn the organ lights on without the lighting we added. So again, part of a project would be to add good quality LED, well, fluorescent styled, but LED bulb lighting tightly on the ceilings. It's not uncommon. The lighting, you know, when this was 1959, the lighting wasn't done as well then as it is now, and it just, you know, you see this forest of pipes here, probably full of dust and bird feathers and that sort of thing. David's pulling a tiny couple of pipes for you. The very top end, the highest pipes of these reed ranks don't have the boots because they get so high they can only be functioning as flue pipes, like the ones we've showed you. So they're just straight, but they play the top end of the trumpet and the clarion and the posauna or trombone. So delicate. These are all spotted metal, so they're lead and tin alloy, and they're spotted because when you melt out lead and tin and then you put them together, it's sort of like oil and water. They mix, but they don't really mix. These all began as blocks of an alloy melted together and then rolled flat and then turned into the pipes that you see here. Okay, so I'm going to climb down, and before I go, I'll just say from here. So we have one more thing to show you. There's one more stop on the organ that sits at the very top of the organ case, all the way up on the top behind that cross, and we're going to take you there. Very few people get to go there. It is a spectacular view, and I'm so happy that you're going to get to see it. So we'll meet you up on top. We'll be on the very top of the organ case, still probably 15 feet from the ceiling of the peak of the ceiling. David's passing through the great division and headed up the ladder to meet me. So we're here. Let's just look back this way before we look out. We can look back, and we're going to look out across, again, the top of those big pedal pipes. And a reminder, these are not the biggest pedal pipes. They're actually below those, but they're some of the big ones. Massive pipes. And then looking down into, from that, the great division where we were, get a sense of how many pipes are there. Again, that division probably has about 1,200 or so pipes. We're also at the peak of the window, the central window, that would look out onto Westminster Street were it not boarded up. Somebody actually told me they didn't realize that we had windows in the front of the church. Next time you're on Westminster Street, take a look. We do. And then you're looking here into an organ stop. This is called the harmonic trumpet, and it's hooded. It looks a little bit like a cobra. I can actually probably take one off or lift a small one. So it looks a little bit like an angry cobra. Oh, David's going to get me into the light. There we go. The idea is that the sound comes up and goes out. You may have seen on some organs what's called a trumpet en chamade, where the whole stop goes this way to send the sound straight out. This is the same effect, but with being able to use vertical space instead of horizontal. So this was new in 1959. It's actually, let's zone in, David. So clearly, you know, we're up high, and it's not. This is not surprising, but you can see it's you know, everything's dirty, really, really dirty, and so that affects particularly reed pipes. This one has been, looks like somebody used their chewing gum to fix this one, and that's never a good sign. But so this stop is unusable. We can't tune it. I mean, we can tune it, but then it immediately goes out of tune again. Some of the pipes won't even tune. But what I want you to see also is that there's a great deal of space here. So in an organ restoration project or enhancement project, we could, in theory, actually even add a division to the organ here. We could even put a set of pipes enclosed, maybe in an enclosure for expression that would be super colorful and added. And you're seeing now the top of the arch of the building. This is the 1846 woodwork. And then the pièce de résistance is the view of the nave and the chancel from the top of the case. A view that I would say probably most people watching this video have never gotten. And we'll let David get too close to the edge, but it's just extraordinary. You can see of course, the nave itself, dating from 1846, the marvelous woodwork and trusses, arches, all the way up to the peak of the ceiling. The ceiling from floor to peak of the nave is 65 feet. And I was saying to David, Exeter Cathedral in England is 68 feet. So it's a little misleading just how high this place actually is from floor to ceiling. There's that cross, the very top of those facade pipes. That's the central pipe, and those are plain pipes. You can see just below there where the pediment is missing, there's a square hole. Looks to me like that part of the facade was redone at some point, and they didn't quite make enough room. And there's a close-up of that harmonic trumpet stop. So it's a marvelous piece of history that we have here. It's a magnificent collection of pipework and woodwork and mechanism, and we dream and hope for the day that it can all be restored and fully playable and fully realized. The glory of it can be fully realized. It makes some glorious sounds now, but not remotely what it could. And we'll continue to dream for that. Hope you'll dream with me about that. In the meantime, I hope that it has been a thrill and a pleasure for you to see what many people have never seen. Not only the inside of the organ, but this spectacular view of our beloved and beautiful Grace Church. We have a few other tours in mind for you, and hope you will enjoy those as well. And until then, stay safe, stay healthy, and we will see you soon.